I got an email about self-confidence, more specifically about working on projects and not doubting yourself when you set a plan, how to execute on your plan. This is a huge thing for most of you guys, is you need to be able to execute on a plan. Sometimes I am working with guys, and a lot of guys, they can come up with a plan, or I can help them come up with a plan, but they never get results because they don't execute on it. And mostly the reason why they don't execute on it, or one of the big reasons, is because they have self-doubt. Now, I've struggled with this myself. I've had to learn how to overcome this. And so I'm going to share with you the strategies that I've learned over time to be able to do this and be able to execute and make sure that what I plan out comes to fruition. By the way, I have a self-confidence system that I have developed over time that I sell. I don't really advertise it very much, but if you wanted to check it out, we'll put a link down in the description below. I think you'll find it really useful. It's a 12-week system that will help you to boost your self-confidence by quite a bit. So he says here, about 8 years now, I've adopted the do what scares me tactic, usually by just jumping in head first, which is good. This is great. This is what you guys should be doing, is you should be jumping in head first, doing things that scares you. Your compass should be pointing in the direction of fear and pain. That is where you grow, and that is how you really progress in life, is by doing that. So hard that I walked out of a job about 6 years ago when my boss was basically telling me they're going to go back on an agreement they made with me. I've still been doing what I'm afraid of. I have grown a lot, but things definitely have not gone like I would have hoped, not been as easy since I began self-employment. The problem is now is when I pivot in the middle of the day to work a project that is new to me or work on my business, I usually have to talk myself into it for a while. It's like part of me is pulling me back to not get started or to start to question or self-doubt myself. This happens constantly when I'm about to take action, especially with a skill I'm not proficient with. Since starting the course, I've started to look at projects a little differently. If it's something I haven't done, I used to put time restraint goals on myself. Then when I started getting behind in the middle, I would get discouraged and it would go downhill from there. But now I try to do more research before getting started, then go into it as learning how to do the project while doing it instead of expecting success right away. This has helped a lot. Do you have any thoughts on this and how better to stick with my plan and not doubt myself, especially when things start going sideways? So there's a few things that I would say here. The very first thing is this feeling of something pulling you back to not get started, or are you questioning yourself or self-doubting? This is resistance. One of my favorite authors of all times, one of my favorite books of all times, Stephen Pressfield, wrote the book, The War of Art. And in that book, he talks about fighting this resistance. So I would recommend reading the book, The War of Art, because that book is going to help you a lot. That's the first thing, because this is something that we all face. So as soon as we're trying to do something that is difficult for us, or that is going to grow us in some way, we're going to have some kind of resistance to that. Now, more specifically, when you're dealing with something that you're not proficient in, when it's an unknown, that is what probably gives us the most procrastination. I'll give you a good example. For me, is that I used to have trouble cleaning things. I know this sounds really silly, but the reason why is because I didn't really know how to do it. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. The point is, when I figured out how to do it, if someone shows me how to do it, then I don't have any problem. I'm not lazy to do it anymore. It's just that because I don't know, because I'm not sure if I'm doing things the right way, then I'm lazy, I'm procrastinating, I don't feel like doing that thing. So what that comes down to is a couple of things. So first of all, we want to break tasks into smaller tasks so that we're confident on each step of the task. Right? The second thing is that we just have to say, look, it doesn't matter what the results are. I've created the plan and I'm going to stick to the plan. I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. I talk about in some other videos about having two hats. You can have the manager or the entrepreneur hat that you put on, and then you have the worker hat. And I like to use this distinction because when I'm in the manager or the planner or the entrepreneur hat role, what I'm doing is I am setting the course. I'm deciding what it is that I'm going to do. I'm creating the plan. And once I am done creating the plan, I put on the worker hat and I don't question the work. Now, I might be doing something stupid that might not make sense anymore. It doesn't matter. I'm going to execute and do that. And I'm going to trust that the guy that was wearing the manager hat, that he knew what he was doing. And I'm just going to follow the orders and do what I'm supposed to do. Another way I could put this is that many of you guys have been in roles where you have been both an employee or a manager. And you probably can function as an employee. If you have a boss and he tells you what to do, okay, you do the job. And that's fairly simple to do. You might not like the job, but you can do it. You don't necessarily need to procrastinate, but it's easy to do that. The second position is to be the manager. Maybe you've been in a position of leadership or authority or management position. If you have, what you've probably found is that's easy to do. You can figure out what needs to be done, tell people what to do, have them do it. Now, what's really difficult is to do both, is to tell yourself what to do. And that's why you have to create these separate roles for yourself, and you have to operate in CEO mode and operate in worker bee mode. You understand what I'm saying? And so you've got to be able to do that for yourself in order to make things easier. Because if you start thinking that way, then when you're in manager mode, you can plan it all out and it's not that difficult to do. And then when you're in worker mode, you can just do the work. And I know that sounds like a really simple solution to this problem, but it really does work. And you just have to trust. You have to trust the process. The other last part of this is letting go of the outcome, not becoming outcome dependent. Because the thing about it is that we can't just do things and then have an intuitive sense if we feel like they're working or not, or if this is a good plan. Instead, we have to trust that when we are in the reflective mode and we were really analyzing things and we came up with the plan, that was the correct thing. That made the most sense. And the thing is that it's going to take time for us to see those results. Let's say you're going to go to the gym. You want to get some muscles. You might be sitting there in the weightlifting room doing your exercises and thinking, it doesn't feel like I'm doing stuff that's growing my muscles. And you're right. And if you look at it, it's not happening at that time. But you sort of have to blindly trust that if you follow this program, if you follow this workout program, if you continue to lift weights and you continue to eat the right way, that you will see progress and changes. And sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't. And if you don't, you have to troubleshoot it, but you can't know in that moment. And that's the thing to understand about this and about business. And so what I would say is that if you want to stick to the plan and not doubt yourself, then what you really need to do is you need to have those two roles and then read The War of Art and make sure that you are just trusting the process, that you come up with the process and that's what your job is, and then you do it. And then the other thing about time boxing, I think makes sense as well. When you're starting something new and you don't know how long it's going to take, don't try and time box something necessarily unless you're time boxing the research part of it in order to have a better idea of what you're going to do. Now, if you want to enroll in the self-confidence program, I don't open enrollment very often here, but I do have some slots available because there is a group coaching call component of this. So I don't want to put too many people into this program. But if you want to get into it, you can click the link down below and you can check it out. And if you want another video to watch on self-confidence, I think I have the video on the worker hats. It's an older video. We'll try to put that here if we can find it. All right, guys.